Ombudsman Lionel Arzu is into his third year in office. The Office of the Ombudsman has been opened since 1999 and serves as a place where members of the public can file complaints against members of the government service or agencies, including the utility companies. According to Arzu, the majority of the complaints brought to his attention are against police officers.
Like I had pointed out earlier in other interviews, that our biggest complaint as a department is against the police. And I have also mentioned too that we continue to have monthly meetings with the police to make sure that we make concerted effort on both parties' side to work on these complaints against the police department. And just yesterday there was a meeting right here, and we sat down and we discussed these complaints that are outstanding, and they continue to make every effort from their part in terms of the resources that they have to come back to us with some kind of information as to what they have done as it relates to these complaints. They are mostly police brutality, going into a place without the right warrant per se. Some people believe that the police have been high-handed in some instance, but majority of it is police brutality.
Interestingly, while Arzu is being paid by the government of Belize, he says he does not fall under the authority of the government.
Well, it depends on how you look at it. For us here, the services is outside of the government entity, and so our work is to investigate even government authorities. And so autonomy we do have, because for me, nobody from the government per se calls on interferes in investigation. They don't tell me you cannot investigate so and so, or Miss so and so, or Mr. so and so. We investigate any complaints that come here against any government authority.
But you're paid by the government?
We're paid by the government, yes, to operate the office and the salaries of the employees. If we go back to my appointment is to be an independent parliamentary commissioner, and the appointment comes from the National Assembly. And so this office writes an annual report that goes to the House for the House to look at and approve.
With many things, there are exceptions to the rule, and according to the Ombudsman, there are two government agencies that do not fall within his jurisdiction.
Our jurisdiction is government entities or department and statutory bodies. That's it. Complaints have come here against other security forces, such as the Coast Guard, the BDF, but we have restrictions based on their act that governs the security people. Of the three, police are the only one that falls under our jurisdiction based on how their act is enacted. However, other complaints would be against the courts, but most of the complaints against court are from the prison, meaning appeals, mostly appeals. Inmates are concerned about their appeal. Is there an attorney assigned to me for a trial? Things like those. Other than that, we get from immigration, we have from lands department, but human resources, I'm sorry, those are the major players that complaints come up against.
As for the reports handed in by the Office of the Ombudsman, Arzu says there is much more that can be done, but likewise there is much to celebrate.
As of the last report, I cannot sit here and say I'm satisfied with the figures that we have, but at least we make some strides. And so while we can complain and say we're not making the giant leap that we expect to make, there are efforts that are warranted to look at and celebrate, because there are some past cases that were covered that were before my time that ended up being closed during my time at this office. Last year we have a total of 217 complaints. Of those complaints, there are about 58.5% that are still under investigation. And they're under investigation for several reasons. One is that if we don't have jurisdiction over those complaints, we don't investigate them. If there isn't sufficient information on the complaint that warrant an investigation, we also don't investigate them. If they're against private entity, we don't investigate them. But however, we refer those that are private, we refer them to either an attorney or to other agencies that we believe can help them in their complaint.
Arzu's contract was renewed earlier this year for 1 year with approval from the House of Representatives.